Here comes Moses. Here comes the quarterback, Burrow. Looking for a block, and he got it up in the front by Hopkins into the end zone. Touchdown!
Fakes, throwing to the end zone. Wide open is Higgins for the Cincinnati touchdown.
There's the sneak. Burrow gets low, driving towards the goal line. He's inside the one, and he's into the end zone for the touchdown.
Welcome to New Stripe City, a YouTube channel for diehard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, and I'm joined by a special host today, my man, DoseofDion 2.0, representing the Detroit Lions. Dion, what's up, bro?
Hey, man, how you doing? Thank you for having me. First off, that intro was hype. I know it's Bengals stuff, and I was like, okay, I like that.
Yeah, we're going to have to get them new jerseys in there, man. So we're working some stuff behind the scenes, but I truly appreciate that one. But this is an exciting game kicking off, man, because I feel like on my channel, this kind of started with the Civil War. You know, Bengals fans, we had a mini Civil War in between people that wanted Penei Sewell and people who wanted Jamar Chase. And I actually was on Team Sewell, but now I have been pressed into duty to be Team Chase. But that's just one of the many storylines of this game. First off, kicking things off, obviously you guys have Dan Campbell. You're kind of moving on from Matt Patricia. You're starting over. You moved on from Matt Stafford. You got Jared Goff in there. What is this Lions team like in 2021?
It's different. It's very different. It's something you got to get used to. The feel offensively is much different. You talked about no more Matthew, and it's just a different way that he plays the game. Goff plays so much different than Stafford does. He was much more of a just push it down the field kind of guy. The offense just feels so much more different, and it's a lot of new turnover in players, but it's also a lot of new turnover in the coaching staff too. You have new coordinators everywhere, so it's just a whole different feel on how they do things. It almost feels like we're more of a rushing team, and that hasn't been the case for as long as I've been alive. You know, we haven't been able to run the football. Now it's like that's our thing. And then you move to the defensive side, and it's kind of weird because we've had our struggles defensively, so it's just trying to figure out what we're doing, but it's just a lot of new things. And you know, when you turn over, when you get new regimes, you see a lot of new players. So a lot of the old Patriots guys are kind of moving out, a lot of new pieces, a lot of young guys coming in, especially at the secondary now, just full-on young players. That's where we're at.
No, we totally understand that, especially with the Bengals, with us going from Marvin Lewis to Zach Taylor. I feel like we're just now, like in year 3, finally getting a team that really fits the new schemes, like you said, and really fits Zach Taylor's offense and just his team's identity for sure. The next thing that I want to talk to you about, you mentioned your defense. What would you say is like the philosophy of the Detroit Lions defense? Is it a blitzing defense? Is it more man zone? What would you say the philosophy is? Obviously, it is a new system and they're figuring it out, but what would you consider?
Yeah, I think it's definitely more aggressive than we've seen in the past. You know, when Patricia was here, it was way more 3-man rush, drop into coverage, and we've seen a pretty heavy mix, and I think a lot of it also comes from the young guys that we have in the secondary. Zone has been mixed in much heavier than we've seen. Patricia was heavy man, and we invested big time in corner with Okudah and then signing Trufant, and unfortunately we had injuries. But then this year, especially now with a lot of these young guys, we seem to play a lot more zone coverage in the back end. We dial up pressure. And, you know, we've lost a pretty good amount of players, so it's more timely blitzing. But on third downs, you'll see some heat. You know, Aaron Glenn will try to mix that in. But they invested this time around different than how our last regime did in the front 7. You know, they went D-line back-to-back, bringing in blockers with the trade, then going linebackers. So they're trying to build the front 7. In the back end, we just have a lot of young players right now, and it's just trying to figure out who are our guys going forward there. But I would say they're definitely more aggressive, especially on those third downs. But they picked it up these last couple of weeks. I mean, you go into week 1 and they look real bad stopping the run. And these last couple of weeks, I mean, they look like a completely new defense. And right now, the only thing I'm saying is like, hey, we need another cornerback. But we got Jacobs coming in there, so I think we're starting to figure it out. But it's a different feel for sure, and I think they're trying to figure it out too with a lot of the new pieces.
No, I completely understand that for sure. The one thing that I'm just gonna ask you selfishly, bro, because okay. I feel like there was a lot of Matt Stafford talk, and there was a lot of – I feel like people were anointing him as, you know, this MVP caliber guy, and they were trying to blame the Lions for not really, you know, holding him up. And I'm like, hold on, bro. I remember the teams that the Lions had where they had Reggie Bush, Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, like Brandon Pettigrew. What are you talking about? He's never had a team. Like, what are your thoughts just personally on that view? Because I think Matt Stafford's a good quarterback, But for them to just say that he leaves Detroit and goes to the LA Rams and now he's an MVP caliber player, and you're blaming it all on Detroit instead of him, raising the level of the team there. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, man. Yeah, it's weird. I feel like the national view it flipped completely as soon as he got traded. I mean, when he was with us, no one really thought that he was, the guy, and then he's in LA and now it's, he's a top quarterback in football, and that was never the case here. And I feel like it kind of happened to Goff when he got brought to Detroit, and now no one likes Goff at all, but it was okay when he was in LA. Personally, I look back at the teams that we had, and I just think a couple things, man, we were missing. You're right, we had some teams, 2014 specifically, and actually he made the Pro Bowl that year, which I don't know why he made the Pro Bowl. He wasn't that good in 2014, but he did. And I always say, man, I just think you look at Pro Bowl things like that. It's like if your team's successful, you might get a look at it, but other years were better years. He didn't get a look at it. I just think, man, one thing we really lacked was the run game. And that's why it's the weirdest thing to me is like we've found it seems like, and we could not find it almost the entire time he was here. We just never found the run game. It was really bad. He definitely had some pieces, that's for sure. And he put up some crazy numbers. Look, I was a Stafford fan. I still got my Stafford jersey over there. I was a big Stafford guy, and it hurt when he got traded. But at the same time, I do not like the whole, national idea. I always thought he was a really good quarterback. But then when Goff comes in here and all of a sudden he's terrible, it's like, come on, man. I mean, we got to keep it the same. So it's touchy. I'm a Goff guy now. We got the jersey behind me, so I'm kind of going a different way with it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about Jared Goff. Like, what are just your impressions of him? I always thought, like you said, I thought that he was a solid quarterback as well. And I think that, to be honest with you, it's funny because we're on the Bengals YouTube channel. I felt like you guys won that trade. That was just me. Like, for you guys to get Jared Goff and everything that you got with him and Stafford, them taking on that contract and all of that, I thought that Jared Goff, I thought that you guys actually won that trade. But just talk to me about Jared Goff and just your thoughts on him thus far this season.
Yeah, when the trade went down, man, it was tough because I've never seen another quarterback play. But definitely, like you said, when you look back on the what we got in return, the picks, obviously getting the quarterback, I mean, it is a good trade, I think, on paper. And I thought it was good for both sides. I thought, okay, the Rams, they get their piece to win now. And I do like Goff. I feel like he's get some criticism, and I just try not to just try to put it on the quarterback just because things are going wrong. I try to look at what else is the problem right now. I think right now our O-line has become a little bit of a problem with some of the injuries. I do like Goff, but like I said, it's something to get used to because he just doesn't play the same. It's just a different feel. But at the same time, sometimes it's kind of hard to judge where he's at when your protection is really struggling, when you have a whole turnover receiver group. Like, we didn't invest in receivers like we were when Stafford was here. So it's just different. And it's kind of hard to judge where he's at. But I do like him. I like the way he plays about it. I like the mindset he brings. I feel like he is a winner, and I do like Goff. I didn't really view him when we got him as like, oh, he's a top quarterback. I had him in that, average, middle of the pack range.
Right.
And I would say he's probably still in that range for me right now. But, I'm on the hype train.
Nah, I'm with it, bro. So you talked about the offensive line, and it's interesting because, a lot of people expected that position to really be your strength, especially after drafting Panay. But talk to me about the strengths and weaknesses as far as the positions of the Lions team.
Yeah, that's a good one. So I feel like, when you talk about offensive line, I think it was a strength coming in the year. I still think it can be a strength, but the injuries have really killed us. And I don't like to blame injuries, but it's, that was a strength. And when you lose Decker, who I hope is coming back this week, by the way, when you lose him and then Frank now is out, it's tough. And then you talked about the Sewell and Jamar Chase thing, having Sewell come in, we haven't practiced it right, and then he gets swung to left. And it started off good. He struggled a little bit the last couple of weeks. But I still think, run blocking, we got a strength there. Like, if you watch all of our O-line, they can run block. Pass block's just been a little bit up and down, and especially the last couple of weeks they got after us a little bit. But I do like a run game for the most part. But, man, it's kind of tough. I mean, defensively, strengths, we're a really good third down team. And I think that's just Aaron Glenn. He just figures out how to dial it up, bring pressures when he needs to. I like our front seven where it's going. We changed the linebacker room up. We moved on from Collins after 1 week. We're like, nah, it ain't the dude. So we went to Barnes, went to Alex. And that defensive line to me has been really where I've been most impressed because you got a lot of these young guys. You don't know how long it's going to take. But I think last week we saw them take big steps, like Levi's making impact, Aleem. And you're like, okay, the D-line's getting somewhere. And, then it's just about the young secondary where we've had some struggles. And that's the biggest thing that scares me about this game, especially if they're seeing the injury report today. Our top corner didn't practice. And looking at your guys' team, all the one-on-one matchups you'll get with your receivers, it scares me a little bit because I'm like, dang, okay, I like what Jacobs did, but you're still rolling out Jamar Chase, who's been killing it, by the way. I know there was some weird stuff early in the preseason, but he's been killing it. And I look at those weapons, I'm like, that's going to be where I think the Bengals really attack us. I felt like Minnesota could have attacked us there more, but they kind of stopped, and they went to the run game, which we've been much better against.
Right, definitely. So you mentioned some players there that may be under the radar for some Bengals fans. So we already know the major pieces, right? But talk to us about some of the under the radar players that Bengals fans should watch out for, and that the Bengals should watch out for.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll start on the defense side. Some of those guys I mentioned. Levi was a second-round pick this year out of Washington, and I think last year you kind of felt it. Michael Brockers, I'm sure most people know who that is, but I think he's just been rock solid. That D-line, Aleem, third-round pick out of NC State. He's another one of those guys on the D-line. And, linebackers, they've kind of interchanged a little bit. But players to watch, I mean, you look at the running back position. I know a lot of people know about Swift, but I'm talking about the guy behind him. It's Jamal Williams, because Williams he's been consistent. Every week you kind of know what Jamal's going to get. You love the energy, but he just throws off the pace so much. And if it's not Swift's game, Jamal seems to consistently, it's his game. Like he give you 4 yards a pop, and you know what you're going to get from that guy. Receivers a little weird because most people in the league don't know any of our receivers. Sometimes I forget who our receivers are. We got a lot of new pieces there, especially with the injuries. Last week Hodge kind of became our one, and Kadero Hodge. He was back with Cleveland. So
yeah,
maybe,
I remember
yep. And then we got Cephas now, who's out for the year. He kind of became our one. You got Benson, who we traded for, who started a little bit last week. It's weird, but I would look at the receiver position for guys like Khalif Raymond. He was with Tennessee. He's kind of became the top guy for Goff. Monra St. Brown, he was a third or fourth round pick this year in this year's draft. So, there's a lot of under the radar guys, but the dude that I've been hyped for is our cornerback, Jerry Jacobs. He came in, he was our number 2, and I'm sure you guys are going to test him a lot this week, because especially if we don't have Amani, but if we do, he's going to be a guy that I think quarterbacks just come out and test and just see if he can hold up. And if he can, maybe you slow down testing him, but I think you'll see him early.
Now, the Lions, I'm not going to lie. I've watched a couple of games because I also have the AFC North Talk channel. So I watched that Ravens game. Felt like you guys got screwed, bro. I'm just going to be honest with you. That was clearly a delayed game. But what has kept this team fighting? Because we see the press conferences afterwards with Dan Campbell. He's extremely emotional. We've obviously been through something similar with Zach Taylor, having a rough start to his coaching career. But I think this team is definitely still fighting. And what do you think personally keeps them in these games?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up the Ravens game, and that one hurts my heart because I was there. And when he's lining up, you're like, he's so far back. There's no way. But then you keep in the back of your mind, that's Justin Tucker. He might hit that.
Tucker, yeah.
Might hit that. I didn't know about the delay game. That just made it worse because after he made it, I get on my phone, I see he made it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just sat there, man. But man, I just love the coaching staff that we have. I think that's my most favorite thing coming in this year is what we brought in. First off, you got a lot of former players, so they know what it's like. Heck, our head coach was here. We were 0-16, so he knows what this is like. But I think it's the coaches, man. You have a lot of former players. You have a lot of top-notch coaches. I think that's what we brought in. Anthony Lynn, at offensive coordinator, he knows what he's doing. He's been a coach before. Aaron Glenn's a little new, but then you bring in guys to help him, like Capers, players that have been there. That was my favorite part, is just the staff we brought in. Plus, I think when we talk about Goff, like, he's won a lot. So, there's players here that Brockers – they've won a lot of games. They know winning. So when you lose, I think it's new to them and they don't want to be there. But yeah, I think Dan Campbell, I mean, I see the chat, like, he's just got a lot of heart, and he doesn't want to lose. He takes to heart. And I love that about Dan. Like, when he got emotional, I loved it. I was like, this is the kind of guy I want going forward for a head coach. No,
that's facts, bro. That's facts. So I got to ask you, what is your prediction of this game, or how can the Lions come out how you want them to?
Ooh. Okay. This is gonna be tough. But yeah, we, like you said, we've been competitive in a lot of games. I mean, we were competitive against the Ravens. I feel like we'll keep it competitive again in this game. It's just gonna come down to scoring points. And I know your guys' defense has been actually pretty solid. I look at the points per drive. You guys have been good there. It's for us, it just seems to be once we get inside like the 30, we stop. And it's a run game falls apart. We turn the ball over. So those things constantly are the thing that you just look at. And then I look at our secondary. How well do we hold up? Because you're going to get those one-on-ones with Chase, with Boyd, and how well do we hold up in those situations? Those are the two, I would say, keys that come to mind right away. But the game might go kind of fast. I would say, man, I predicted wins, because I can't help but be a little biased. So I've been predicting wins. Right. Yeah, but I've been wrong every time I predicted a win. So maybe I changed the luck up. I'll just predict the loss. So I'll just do that. Okay. I hope they win, but I'll predict the loss just because, maybe it's like, reverse psychology, then maybe it'll work this time. So I'll go with that. Let's go. I think it'll be a little bit lowering. Look at how the scores have been. I'll go like 23-17.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, as you guys have heard, this guy is super informative on the Lions. Be sure to check out his channel. I actually already have a link in the description. So if you're watching this, please be sure to check out his channel. Definitely give him a follow. Before we get out of here, Dion, was there anywhere else that you wanted people to find your stuff?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah, YouTube and, my name's pretty much the same across any platform like Instagram and stuff, man. I just thank you for having me. I just want to say that this is a good show. Appreciate it.
I started looking up Lions YouTubers. I'm like, yeah, this is the guy. This is the guy. But I appreciate you guys for joining us. And to the community, as usual, I'll leave you guys with a who day all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.
Here comes Moses. Here comes the quarterback, Burrow. Looking for a block, and he got it up in the front by Hopkins into the end zone. Touchdown!
Fakes, throwing to the end zone, wide open is Higgins for the Cincinnati touchdown.
There's the sneak. Burrow gets low, driving towards the goal line. He's